Hey Patriots, it's KG here from the Proof blog, and if you're still with us, thank you. If you thought an arbitrary date on the calendar was going to change how crazy things were this past couple of years, well, I guess we're all wrong, right? 21 started out with a bang, and it's continuing that way, unfortunately. Yesterday's fiasco really ratcheted things up a notch, and that's not to say that frustrations should not be heard. Frustrations should absolutely be heard. They need to be heard in a different way, and I'll address that at the end. But there's two things that I want to address immediately after yesterday, and those specifically are regarding the police, number one, and regarding the actions taken by protesters, of course, number two. Now, everyone's saying that, oh, well, the police took a light-footed approach to addressing the protests yesterday. And I want to point out how, or possibly why that was. Now, if you look at past Trump rallies in the DC Capitol and across the United States, they were and are, by and large, peaceful. Up until the point that Antifa gets involved, right? When you have those counter protesters, things get out of control. But Trump rallies, as large as they've been, with their large stages and a massive amount of people, have been extremely peaceful. And that's possibly part of the reason why Capitol Police were not prepared properly for what happened yesterday, because it was outside of the norm for patriotic Trump supporters, which is indicative of the fact that many people are saying, oh, maybe Antifa or other nefarious individuals got involved just to play the other side, just to, create chaos. And I think there's some truth to that. I think there was absolutely some overzealous actors on the right, but I absolutely think there was some truth to that. There was a recent video that I'll probably be posting pretty soon that you could see the protesters gathering up around the doors of the Capitol, but then you see certain individuals start to break the glass to the Capitol for no reason. And the crowd, mainly Trump supporters, is yelling, Antifa, Antifa. They're pointing out that these people are not them. Now, again, I'm not going to go full sail and say that they had no stake in the game. I don't believe that. I think there was a good mix of people. But I do want to point out that it was not typical for Trump rallies and Trump protesters. So that's possibly why Capitol Hill Police was caught off guard. Now, other people are making it a race issue, right? Oh, well, if this was black people, if this was Black Lives Matter, everyone would have been shot. That's false. If you remember this past summer, while BLM and Antifa were destroying dozens of cities, causing billions in damage, at one point pushing up on the gate of the White House and injuring over 50 Secret Service agents, throwing Molotov cocktails onto the lawn, and burning one of the security checkpoints at the White House, yet no one was shot by police. But today, with largely unarmed protesters, a woman was shot in the neck. Now, she's not going to get a gold casket. She's not going to, have anyone tear down the city on her behalf. They shouldn't. Yes, she was breaking the law. No, it was not warranted for her to get shot in the neck for going through the window of one of the doors. Should she not have been there? Absolutely. But that's not what constitutes deadly force action. Now, you have to take into account that if you look at the protests, you have people pushing their way through, you have people scrambling. Yes, you had officers injured, but these people weren't bringing weapons, largely were not bringing weapons. They were not throwing rocks, bottles, fire bombs at the police officers like BLM did all summer. So that is part of the reason why you see police not taking as aggressive as an approach. Was there some aggression in some parts? Absolutely. You saw people getting hit with batons, pepper spray, and of course bullets. but a very different scene. And of course, this only lasted a couple hours. It didn't last days, months. That brings me to my other point. By and large, most of my right-wing friends have condemned the actions yesterday, and I think that's appropriate. We have to. Here at the Proof Blog, we have. We're not doing it to virtue signal. We have no reason to virtue signal. But I do have quite a few friends, very small few, who have said that the actions were warranted because of mounted frustrations. I get it. I get the mounted frustrations. But if you believe sincerely that these people were acting out to preserve their freedoms and their constitutional rights and overturn a fraudulent election, then that was the weakest protest, the weakest outrage I've ever seen. If there is a massive amount of truth to the fact that they believe they were standing up like revolutionaries to stop some egregious injustice, then they should be continuing their actions. And I'm not saying continuing to be violent, but they should be demanding day in and day out to rectify the issues at hand. Again, what is it? 28, I believe, 28 to 22 is the current standing at state legislators of who runs the state legislators. Now, we have to, if we're going to actually create good change for this country, make sure the absolute chaos of this past election doesn't continue, we have to become activists. And I don't mean like activists like the foolish men and women on the left who like to burn down cities. I mean like smart activists who are organized and well thought out and trained to create political changes. Really, conservatives are very weak in that area outside of one particular issue, and that is the pro-life issue. We need to borrow from how the pro-life issue is organizing and start to put that into play into every other arena, whether that's the Second Amendment, whether that's putting our elections into a more secure method. I don't know what it is. We have a lot of things that we need to do, a lot of changes that we need to make, and we're not going to achieve any of that if we are going to say that a few hours of stupid protesting, a few hours of rushing the Capitol are what we can do to affect change. That's not going to affect change in any way. That's just going to piss people off, and that's just going to justify the left's attack on our continued attack on our rights and freedoms. So there has to be a sustained, smart, proactive effort to secure our liberties and freedoms here in the United States. I think you can look at the conservative and the right-wing libertarian movements and say that ultimately what we want is to be left alone. But we can't sit and do nothing and expect to be left alone. The left is going to continue to encroach on our freedoms year after year, slowly and surely, and sometimes shoot forward and take a huge chunk out of those rights and liberties. We can't no longer just say that, if we keep to ourselves, then we'll be fine. No, that's not how it works anymore. And it stopped working that way long ago, but we're so slow to react. That's why we're quote unquote conservatives, right? We have to be proactive. We have to create laws that say government can't do certain things. Yes, the Constitution exists, and yes, the Constitution should be adhered to secure certain freedoms. But apparently that's not enough, right? You have people encroaching that every single day. So we have to be proactive. We have to start instilling certain things in our state legislators, in our counties, in our cities, and then of course at the federal government level. Start enacting them, start being proactive. Stop waiting for the left to cause something before you need to react to it. All right, good luck. It's going to be a long 4 years.